What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Q&A with Coach Trey. I'm Brandon.
I am Trey.
This is Coach Trey. And we've got a fun Q&A for you. This is Thursday. And so if you guys are watching this live, welcome. If you are not, then welcome again from the past.
That's right.
But this is Thursday the 13th, 14th?
14th.
Whatever day Thursday is.
Thursday the 14th.
But before we get into our questions, you had quite the adventure yesterday, I believe. Did you run yesterday at all?
No, but I walked about 25,000 steps in the Newark International Airport.
Were you tracking it with your Fitbit?
I actually was.
Okay.
I actually was. And in fact, that was one of the most active days I think I've had, because what are you going to do when you're sitting in an airport? So it's either sit there and let your back tighten up or just walk through Terminal C at Newark Airport. So if you were at the airport yesterday in Newark and saw some guy walking through the hallways for about 5 hours, that was probably me. So
that's good.
There you go. So glad to be back. So yeah, I'm operating on about 3.5 hours of sleep right this minute. That's 3.5 last night, and I think 3.5 the night before that. So
you're gonna go home right after this.
I'm getting ready to go home, and actually, I'm probably not going to sleep because I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old son. So if I go home, they're gonna. So I don't know what I'm gonna. Maybe I have to go find a place to
That's not good
or something. So
how's your training going?
Training in
general.
What
are you training for?
That's a great question.
It's like what I'm training for. Nothing.
Yeah, I'm signed up for some races. I am signed up for the Disney World Marathon in January. I have no idea whether I can complete a marathon right now. Well, I know I can't now, but that's what I'm going to train for and prepare for it. I'm signed up for a couple of halves this fall, and I don't know. We're just going to. I'm just trying to work out the whole back thing, trying to keep it loose and trying to take one step at a time. So, I mean, I would say training is going pretty decent. I'm trying to ramp my mileage up. The pace is the tough thing. The pace is the last thing to come back, I think. And you combine kind of trying to get over a back thing with the heat of summer.
Yeah. It's bad.
It makes you very, very slow.
Yeah.
So it just kind of is what it is. So you've been swimming this week.
I've swum twice.
That's good.
I'm probably going to go to the gym today, just do weight stuff, and then going to run tomorrow and probably ride my bike on Saturday.
That's good.
Doing a little bit of everything this summer.
That's good.
Keeping it. We just joined the Y here in Athens.
How you like that?
I like it a lot.
You like it a lot?
It's good. It's old, but it's fun.
Should I drop my Omni Club membership and go to the Y?
It's not as nice as like a normal gym, but it's very community feel. So lots of folks.
Do you have a hard time finding lanes to swim in, or
depends on when you go.
Okay.
You can, but they have an indoor and an outdoor pool, which is fun. So but you guys may not even be in Athens, but this isn't even in our script, but I thought I would mention it because I've thought about running a lot. This might be out of the demographic that listens to this podcast.
Okay.
But if you guys have been on the internet, you have probably heard about Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go?
Have you heard about it?
All right. Pokemon or Pokemon?
Pokemon, like the old school video game.
I have heard there's something going on.
I'm that generation when I played it when I was a kid. But the thing is, to capture them, it's on your phone, but you actually have to walk around to capture them. So like to actual places in real life.
So it gets you moving.
It gets you, and people have been posting they're getting sore and they're like having to actually exercise, and they're like accidentally exercising. They're like, I just spent 2 hours outside walking around trying to find stuff. But because of that, there's a special spot at the Y where you can go compete against people. So that's what makes me think about it. So
it's called Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go, yeah.
Pokemon Go.
So you guys can be doing that and let us know. And it might just be me that's doing
there you go.
But it's pretty funny because one of those things is we're wanting you guys to get outside or just get active this summer. And so we're doing the summer challenge. And so you guys have seen that or seen information about that. And that is over here at Summer Running Challenge at the Connect Run Club. And for you guys that want to check it out, you can do that at connectrunclub.com/summer challenge. And I think I just threw that up where you can't see it. Summer challenge. But anyway, so you guys can do that. It is 20-minute workouts 3 times a week for 4 weeks straight. You have a chance to win free pair of running shoes, which is a lot of fun. So you guys can make sure and do that. And Pokemon could be a way to do it.
There you go.
Ironically enough,
I've learned something new today.
It tracks your steps. So
there you go.
It's pretty
You
wild.
could either play Pokemon Go or walk the Newark Airport. We learned that today.
I was gonna say that. I bet there's some Pokemon in the New York Airport.
You were probably
coulda
right.
Caught
I
yesterday.
probably could have called it a Pokemon Go.
So anyway, guys, you may be like, "What am I listening to?" So
We're not sure either. I'm not sure.
Get it. Yeah, you're tired, so we can kind of do whatever. All right, so we're going to jump into some questions, and this one's coming from our Facebook group. Again, if you guys want to join our Facebook group, go to connectrunclub.com/Facebook, and you will join. So this is going to be our first one. I think we have 4 for you today, Trey. And so Trey has not seen these. It's kind of small, but I'm going to blow it up or try to. All right, so this is coming from Ryan Lawless. He says, I train almost exclusively by zones and heart rate. When I was younger, I trained by pace. Right now, I am tempted to go back to the latter for a cycle because I feel like I was more effective for building speed. I have a duathlon in August that I was training for, which will be a 10K run, 40K ride, 5K run. And I found out in my last duathlon of the same distance, speed was wanting. I don't want this thread to devolve into endless debate and commentaries, but just looking for some evidence-backed research. So basically, to take his question more broad, how do you train from speed versus heart rate and zones? What's your kind of opinion on this?
That's a good question right there. The danger about training with pace, the only thing that I ever get concerned about when we talk about training with just pace is that pace is not always equal.
Yeah.
And that's the reason there's usually a wide variety when we talk about pace. So typically an easy run pace can have like a 90-second variance.
Okay.
And, my easy runs they could range anywhere from like a 7:30 to a 9:30, depending upon how I felt. So it could be even more than that. The other complication with pace is also the environment and the conditions. So if you're going to the track and going to do intervals, a running calculator isn't always the only thing you have to listen to, because your plan might call for going to the track and doing 400 repeats at, let's just say at a 6:45 pace. Well, that 6:45 pace in October is a lot different than a 6:45 pace right this minute.
Right.
So I can tell you right this minute, if that's your desired pace, you're going to have to adjust that pace because it's probably not something you're going to be able to maintain. So that's the only danger with pace. Now, I do agree, if you're trying to get faster, there are days where I think pace is important. When is pace important? I think pace is important depending upon the type of runs that you're trying to do. So if you're trying to learn how to hold a marathon pace, if you're trying to learn how to hold a half marathon pace, if you're going to the track and trying to understand, hey, what is it like to hold a 10K pace, and maybe you're doing kilometer repeats, I think those things are important, but I don't think exclusively pace training, in my mind, it's not something I would get trapped into. As long as, I think it depends. Here's the thing. If every single run you're going to judge by pace, I think that's where the danger can come in, because that in my mind, the heart rate training, the great benefit of heart rate training, it's not even the heart rate as much as, to me, it's the perceived effort. Mm-hmm. And so, or perceive level of exertion, I think is what it's called. Because to me, an easy run, it's like today, I went and ran at lunch. And some people may have seen what I did at lunch and been like, man, that was slow. And yeah, it's like running on the sun out there. So what was easy today was about a 9:50 pace for me and who I was running with. You know what? A few days ago, me and him did the same thing, and I think we did an 8:45 pace. Yeah. And so, but it was about, hey, what does that level of exertion look like? Yeah. And so that's what we had to determine when we were out there today, is we're like, hey, this is a day that we have to slow it down. It was a lot more humid today, a lot hotter today. So it was not even, to me, I do have a heart rate monitor, and I will look at that after I was done, and I'm pretty sure it was probably a lot lower than it was the other day. But in my mind, I think it's actually kind of probably healthy to use both. Yeah. I think you can use a combination of the two. Here's my thing. When it comes to easy running and long running, I don't really care what the pace calculator says. It can say whatever it wants to. That's where I'm going to get into my kind of what does it feel like? Does it feel easy? If it feels easy, then I don't care what the pace feels like. I think as you want to dig in the pace, I think where you may want to concentrate on your pace. Hey, what does it look like when you're doing your tempo run? What are you doing your intervals at? Are you able to hold that? And you'll know quickly if you're trying to do 400 repeats and you have 10 or 12 of those to do, and after your first 4 or 5, you can't hold it. Well, you just know you have to adjust that pace.
Yeah,
and so sense. I think if you go into that workout knowing that the pace might shift a little bit, then I think you're good. So I like a little bit of both.
That's good.
So there you go.
We got a question actually coming in live from Gregory Byerline. So he was asking, kind of going along with heat, just about heat acclimation.
Yep.
And so I can't put it up there for you guys, but on the Facebook group, he said, is there a rule of thumb about how long that process takes? 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month? So kind of how long does it take for you to transition? Are you really just transitioning kind of with the weather? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And by the way, major props to Gregory. If I saw correctly on Strava, doing a run with a double stroller, if I think I saw that correctly. So, Gregory, major props to you. I think I gave you some kudos on Strava for that one. Anytime you can push a double stroller. The question I have for you, Gregory, was it a running stroller? Because it was a regular stroller, then I'm going to give you like triple props for that one. So, so heat acclimation, that's the question we're talking about?
How long does it take for you to acclimate to the heat?
Man,
knowing that you're not going to hit the same pace, but how long do you kind of get comfortable where you're not getting dehydrated or you're not like passing out?
Well, that's an excellent question. I think it could depend on the person, and I think it can also depend on your experience. I'll just give you a for instance. I used to run in the mornings a lot. I run in the afternoons a lot more, which some people look at what we do, and like, well, we live in Athens, Georgia, and you run in the afternoon when it's 97. Yeah, and you know what? I've kind of adjusted to it. It doesn't really bother me much anymore. But it probably took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get where it doesn't really impact me anymore. It's like today, it was hot, but it didn't really impact me. So I think it depends on your conditioning as well. So as you run and become more efficient, Gregory, I think that helps as well. And so I think some people will adapt quicker than others. The more your fitness background and the longer you've been running, I think you've got a much better chance of adapting quickly. Now, adapting can mean a couple of things. I don't mean adapting like you're going to go out there and you're going to be able to run the same thing you will in a couple of months when it cools down. But I do think from a dehydration standpoint, I think you can adapt in my mind in a couple of weeks. I think you'll start to see some progress because if I look back in June, I was really struggling with the heat in June. Yeah. And it really has been, I think it was like the last week in June, it was like something switched for me. Okay. And it really hasn't bothered me since then. We started early June getting 90 degree temperatures here in Georgia. I'd say it probably took me about 3 weeks. Now, and this is where I go back to your experience level. And if you don't have a long running background, then I think it might take you a little bit longer just because you're not as efficient as a runner yet and your body's not used to it. So I would say it probably depends on how long you've been running. I would give yourself 3 to 4 weeks at least to begin to adjust to it, and adjust small, try something different. So if your plan, and Gregory, I know we talked about this the other day, but if your plan calls for a 6-mile run, hey, maybe do 3 in the morning and try and do 3 later in the day to see if you're able to adjust some. Because here's what I wasn't doing. I made this like this past weekend. I went out and tried to run 9 miles in the heat Saturday. It was a little much. I was probably ready for 7, but not quite 9. So I was paying for it near the end. So I think watch your distance as well. And don't assume just because you can run 4 miles in the heat, don't assume that you can double that and try and run 8 or 9. That's
good.
So,
well, sweet. Well, so we are going to move right along to our next question. And Trey mentioned our Strava group, and so I'll do a quick plug for that. That's connectrunclub.com/Strava. Or if you're on Strava, just look up Connect Run Club. think we have close to 500 folks in there. And that's one of the ways we're tracking the summer challenge. But if you just want to see some other folks that are running and get you some motivation, see tons of folks running in the mornings, afternoons, and at night.
It's very encouraging.
Very encouraging. Check it out. So, all right, moving right along. This is coming from Deanna Miller. She says, I noticed that my time per mile has dropped about a minute this summer. Went from 10 minutes to 11 minutes. Is that normal? So this is kind of building off what we're talking about. I just started running again this past fall and can't remember.
Yeah, it's totally normal. And that's what, if you kind of heard when we first opened the podcast, that's kind of what I was referring to is that's the tough part of knowing what my comeback is looking like right now, because I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to come back from injury. At the same point, I'm going through the heat. So it's hard to judge, hey, is this injury or is this heat? But as long as I've been running, I've dealt with this. So that's probably the last, 14 years. I call it the summer blues. That's what I call it. Yeah. And this happens to every single runner in the summer. But Deanna, I have some fantastic news for you. Here is the fantastic news. It's like putting money in the bank. The money you put in the bank in the summer is going to pay tremendous rewards this fall. Yeah. So that's the beautiful part. That's really not tell people, hey, you have to survive in the summer. If you can put in the mileage, don't worry so much about your pace. Don't worry so much about the tempo. Don't worry about the intervals. Put in the mileage and put the money in the bank. It's not just going to return a little bit. It's going to return a lot. So That's the reason I would take the pace calculator, take your pace and just throw it out the window. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah. So here actually is the pace calculator. This is the one I like. It's on Runners Connect. I think I mentioned this in the actual discussion on Facebook. But Trey, I know it's kind of hard for you to see it, but we're going to do it kind of live. Give me
let's do it.
your 5K time, like a recent 5K time.
Ooh.
Or how about give me a distance?
No, that's fine. Let's do 5K.
Okay.
Let's just do 5K. So let's just put in 25 minutes for instance. Let's just do that.
So 25 minutes. I just did an hour. For those of you guys that are listening, I'm sure this is fascinating.
It's riveting.
All right, so it starts at 60 degrees and goes up from there. And so it's basically adding, looks like a little over 10 seconds per 5 degrees. So your 5K was 25 minutes, and that was at 60 degrees or less. And then when you get up to what it was like today, 95 degrees, you're running a 26:19. So your pace goes from 8:03 to 8:25. So that minute difference that let's see, they were talking about. Let me throw it up, Deanna. So yeah, that minute, that sounds about right, especially when you get longer distances. And it's getting really hot during the summer.
Yeah, because I could even, I can tell you, I think that can go even a lot higher than that. Yeah. So there's no doubt about that. But yeah, don't be discouraged. Every single runner during the summer questions their fitness level. I can assure you, I've done the same thing for years. That's where you just have to kind of block it out of your memory and just move on.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's move to the next question. This is coming from Chelsea Thomason. She says, just curious, what does everyone like to do for their cross training? I personally like to take a low-impact, full-body toning class once a week.
What's that?
I have no idea. Oh, that would be my follow-up. So, Chelsea, if you're listening to this,
what's a toning class?
Let us know what that actually is. But my wife did a spin class yesterday.
I love spin class.
So it was the first one she'd ever did. So
she needs to get a spin bike and try that app that I was saying.
Is it
fantastic.
Fun?
It's a lot.
She really likes the community piece. So she was doing it with some folks that she knew, and she liked it. I'll say for me personally, because this isn't just my cross training, this is my real training. Yep. Running is almost my cross training right now. Is swimming. I like, which I know a lot of people hate, because if you can't breathe, it's horrible. Yeah. But if you can, it's super relaxing at the end.
I can survive in water.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time getting from this point to that point,
which
is kind of the object, right?
It's kind of the object. Okay. It's all technique, but I also like to cycle, so I like to bike.
Yeah, I do too.
Out on the road.
I do. Now, that's where I need to get on the road. I need to get my bike fixed. But, hey, Chelsea, I think the big thing I would encourage you with is that you want to make sure in a rest day or an off day is a rest day or an off day. That doesn't mean you can't exercise, but it means you don't want weight bearing on your legs. So when you say full body toning, my only question is what's going on with your legs.
Yeah.
if you were going to do a full body toning that was going to include your legs, I would tell you to do it on a hard day. I know it sounds crazy, but I think a hard day is the best day to do it, and after a hard run. So whether that is a interval, whether it is a longer run, but your legs are already going to be shot that day.
Right.
And in the end of the day, what you need is that rest day to fully recover. And so that's where I would encourage you and say, I do want to find out and say, and if you want to put in here, we can even address this more next week if you want to. Let us know what that looks like and how much impact that's making on your legs. The whole thing to me, though, is weight bearing. If it's not weight bearing, I'm not too concerned about it. But if it's weight bearing at all, that's where I'd be a little bit concerned that your legs are not utilizing the recovery time, because it's just like in weightlifting. You don't get stronger when you tear your muscles. You get stronger as they repair. It's the same thing with running. You're going to get stronger on your rest days and your easy days. So that'd be my only encouragement for you. So if you want to put a follow-up in there, kind of give us an idea of what that looks like. If you have another question to that, we'd be glad to address it some more. Yeah.
Greg responded back. He said, thank you. He said it was a double jogger. And almost 7-year-olds. That's a good bit of weight in there.
Gregory, so, you went from here to here. I'm telling you, that's impressive.
And a 3-year-old. And the 7-year-old's hopping out and running a little bit too. So, man. Plus a dog on the leash. My gosh.
Gregory.
Crazy stuff. Well, speaking of full body toning, we have something we want to show you guys.
I told you not to put my picture up.
Yeah, this is Trey's picture. Let me flip it out real quick so you can see our faces. That's crazy. If you guys don't know who this is the fastest American marathoner of all time.
Yeah.
Currently not with an American or a marathon body anymore.
He is a transformer.
So this is Ryan Hall on the right, and as of this was like last week, he has started doing weight training. So there's a pretty fun article on Runner's World and Outside Magazine that gives his workout regimen now.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But the stuff was really interesting, and what I wanted to talk to you about was just the fact that he even said, like, I was weak as a runner. Like, it's like throughout the day I wouldn't feel good. Like, I was this weak, and I'd only feel strong when I'm actually out there running because your whole body's built. So what do you think of just whole level fitness for running with kind of the stuff that he's doing now?
And this kind of gets us in. You need to listen to the next 2 podcasts we have coming up, because I'm telling you, there's something to this. And I've got a good friend of mine who he just started dabbling into the world of triathlons, and he was probably running maybe even 4 to 5 marathons a year. And all of a sudden, he dropped his mileage. He's been adding in the swimming, adding in the cycling, and he looks so much better. Oh, really? He has gotten so much faster.
Is he cross? I mean, is he weight and doing any lifting or anything?
He's doing lifting. Okay. He is doing lifting. He's spending more time on the bike, more time on the trainer, more time in the pool. And I do think it is a fallacy with us runners that. And it was funny. I was joking around. I just ran at lunch, and right after me and the guy I was running with, we usually do push-ups. We were like, I don't feel like doing push-ups today. Yeah. I'm telling you, it truly is our kryptonite. The fact that when we do only running, I do think it hurts us. And it hurts us bad, because it's just like me trying to get over this back thing. I know what I should be doing. I know I need to be doing core work. I know I need to be doing these stretches, and I don't do them enough. And I'm telling you, I think this gives us a good snapshot. Look, at the end of the day, we want to become better runners. And I do think the answer to becoming a better runner is to become a better athlete. So I definitely think there's something there. Are we going to look like this? No, I don't think we're going to look like that. But I think there's some signs here that I think we can become a better runner by becoming a better athlete. So I think spending, can you get to the gym twice a week? Can you do 30 minutes in the gym twice a week just to strengthen some? Because in reality is people have a hard time making the connection between. There we go. There's our camera.
We're still good.
We're still good. Okay. Yeah. It messed with me. It sounded like it took a picture, so it messed with me. But at the end of the day, when we talked about running form, sorry, I'm distracted. We talked about running form. We've talked a lot about becoming an efficient runner. And part of that comes from our running form.
Yeah.
And if we're not well conditioned here, we lose our form.
Yeah.
And losing your form at the end of a half marathon, at the end of a 10K, end of a marathon is completely normal. We've got to learn how to be abnormal. So I think abnormal means spending time at the gym. I think abnormal means spending some more time cross training and pulling back from the runs a little bit.
Yeah. It's good. So, it just depends on kind of what your goals are. So if you want to be the world's fastest marathoner, you're going to look a lot different.
Don't look like the now Ryan Hall.
Yeah. You don't look like this.
I'd kind of like to look like the new Ryan Hall, personally.
Yeah. If you want, full body. And this guy, I know it's controversial, but we had some CrossFit guys on the podcast fall last year. And one of them was like CrossFit for runners. And so it was a lot of high intensity stuff. So you're not going to go out and necessarily win a race, but you're going to be a little bit more healthy overall if you're not killing yourself doing CrossFit.
But like you just said, you got to hit whatever goal you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to be fast, obviously Ryan Hall did gain 40 pounds, and when you gain 40 pounds, you're not going to be as fast as you were. So there's trade-offs.
Well, sweet. Well, so we've got a couple more questions. This one is coming from the Facebook group again. This is actually coming in live, so I can't put it up there, but this is from Keith Freeman. He says, this is kind of what we've been talking about. What's the best way to train for a half marathon in the heat with high humidity? So is this just run in the mornings when it's not hot?
Yeah, I think run in the mornings, and I hate to even suggest this, Keith, but I'll do it anyway. I think for your easy runs, very simple to just get out in the mornings. That's my suggestion. I can't believe I'm going to recommend this, but if you have a real goal time for this, I've done this before when it got really bad. Is I have gone to the gym and maybe done my warm up miles outside, gone inside to do some interval work or tempo work on the treadmill, and then gone back outside to do my cool down. So if you have key workouts that you're like, I feel like I need to nail these workouts, gives you a little bit of flexibility as far as how to do it. So that'd be my recommendation, is on key workouts where pace is important, find a way to get the pace done. You may even want to look at the forecast, and hey, on days where you feel like the forecast might be a little friendlier, which I know is tough right now, you may even want to switch your run days. So I've done that before. A lot of times I may have my plan, but I'll look at what the weather looks like. And if I notice it's not going to be quite as bad or quite as humid on these days, I'll switch my workouts and I'll say, hey, I want to do the harder run on the day it's not going to be quite as bad.
That's good. All right. So we've got one more question, and it's a pretty long one. So hang in there with us, guys. So this is coming from John Henry Grisb. I think that's how you say your last name, out in Las Vegas. Someone in our office, Daniel Black, was actually in Vegas last weekend.
There we go.
He says, so this is something I've been struggling with over the years since I started running, but I can't seem to understand the cause and effect of it. I'll be going through my training program very well, increasing speed as the weeks and months progress. Everything's going great. I feel fabulous. And that I will do great on race day. Then all of a sudden I start going backwards in my paces. I know I didn't lose fitness over the course of a few days, but what causes progression to go backwards? An example, this is what happened to him today. This was last Wednesday. I ran a 4-mile tempo run at 6:41, which is moving. Felt great. Took 3 days of running this weekend to recover and spend time with friends. I ran an easy day on Tuesday, then wanted to do a little bit slower for a city-state run on Wednesday. Today, though, I can't hold the same pace or come close. I was barely holding onto a 6:53, almost 2 miles into the run. So how does something like this happen? And maybe to take this a little bit more broad is, what do you do when it feels like you're losing fitness during a training plan, and what feels like you're going backwards instead of going forwards?
I could dedicate a whole show to what he just said. Yeah. So I'm going to try my best.
Okay.
To do this. I think there's several things. Number one, when I start to, I'm gonna try and back this up and give a big picture, then we'll try and narrow down. When I try and work with an athlete, one of the first things I do is I want to get a couple snapshots. What do their last 6 weeks look like, and what do their last 6 months look like? And the reason why that's important, I think it's the same thing from your perspective. I think seeing the big picture is the most important thing. Can I explain what happens day in and day out? honestly, no, I can't. Some days you feel better than others. Look, it's the thing that we love and hate about the marathon. Unlike the 5K, if I want to go run a 5K today, I can go out and run a 5K. And if it doesn't go well, guess what? Probably a day or two later, maybe the next day, I can try it again and I'm okay. Problem with a marathon, you put 4 months of work into one shot. You don't know how you're going to feel that day. You have no idea what the weather's going to be, but you also don't know how you're going to feel. Here's the other thing. This is probably the biggest thing of all. And this is where I'm telling you, we could probably do an hour show on this. To me, a lot of this comes down to what we've talked about in the past, but really is periodization. And what are you peaking for? What are you training for? What does your training look like? And I say it like this. I'll give you an example of what it used to look like for me. All right, now look, we're getting ready to dive into something, and this is coaching philosophy 101. So you may ask another coach the same question. You may get a completely different answer. I'm going to tell you how I design a program for athletes and how I like it designed for me. Now, having said that, if you have something that's not working for you, the best thing I can tell you is sometimes it's good to switch it up. But here's the way I have to arrange programs. And I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, but I like to arrange my year. Okay. And I like to say, and this is how I used to do it. I would run like the Disney Marathon in January, and I would take traditionally about 6 weeks off. I would start building again, and I would start building for a 5K. I would probably run some test 5Ks in the middle of that. Then after that, that was my peak race though. I was getting my body ready for that race. After it was over, I would traditionally kind of go up to the 10K, and then I would go to the half marathon, and then I'd build to the marathon. Because here's what I can tell you. The reason I want to dig into what your training looks like is because when you're marathon training, you're trying to peak for a marathon. You're not trying to peak for a 5K. You're not trying to peak for a 10K. And so that's the reason I do wonder what your training looks like. So when we talk periodization, let me give you a snapshot of what training looks like and how you're getting prepared for a race. So I think we've all heard the term base building. So what are you doing when you're base building? You're doing just that. You're building the foundation of your training. So that doesn't mean you're not doing any speed work at all, but it means you're probably doing some fartleks or you're probably doing some strides, but you're really just trying to set the foundation, because what you're going to do, I'll tell you, this is going to be a long answer. What you're going to do is you're going to stress your body, okay? And so you want to make sure as you're stressing your body, you have built the foundation to put stress on top of it. Yeah. Just like you're building a house. Hey, you know that you're going to put a lot of stress on the foundation. So if that foundation's not good enough, it can't handle the stress. Well, the same thing for your body if you're running. If you don't have the base enough to do it, then all the tempo or interval running that you want to put on, it's going to break you, not make you. So you've got to build your base. Secondly, once you get beyond that base building, that's where you're going to start throwing in some different type of speed work. And that speed work is not just speed work, but it's going to be relative to what you're training for. So That's where the question is, are you training for a 5K, a 10K, a half, or a full? Because that's how the speed work is going to be kind of relevant. And then you're going to get to the peaking phase. A lot of people call it kind of the taper period, but peaking is usually a little bit closer to the event, but also maybe not quite to the taper. And that's where you're going to get into the specialization. Mm-hmm. So as I look at some pace runs for the marathon, or I'm looking at pace runs for the 5K, that's where you're going to get very specific. And so that's where I would say, depending upon what you're training for, I would not go run a 5K 3 to 4 weeks before I run a marathon and expect to run my best 5K. Could I? Potentially, but realistically, I'm peaking for a marathon, not a 5K. So that's the reason I know this is a little bit of a convoluted answer to, hey, how come my run is a little bit different today than it was another day. So I think it also depends on what does your training calendar look like? What race are you getting ready for? What are you peaking for? Because here's the mistake I think we get lost in, okay? You want to hear the mistake I think we get lost in?
Yeah.
The mistake I think we get lost in is we train the same way for 52 weeks of the year. Yeah. I think that's a mistake. When you train the same way, expecting different results, all you're going to get is the same results. So that's the reason I think there has to be peaks in your training. Don't run the same 30 miles a week that you run 52 weeks of the year. You've got to mix it up. So do you take weeks off? Yes. Do you have higher mileage weeks? Yes. Do you have lower mileage weeks? Yes. Because here's the thing, just like you would go to the gym, will you go to the gym and do the exact same exercises every day? No,
right.
Because your body's going to get used to it. Just like you wouldn't go do, or would you go do a 3-mile tempo run every single week? I know runners who do it, and also know that they've plateaued, and also know that they're not making progress. You have to put different stresses on your body. So to me, it's a sign. So I'm coming back to this answer. When you start seeing you're plateauing, or when you're not seeing results, or you're dipping back, I think you need to take and break what you're doing something, quit doing the same exercises and switch it up. And I also think you need to take a look at your race calendar. What are you training for? It may not be you're backing down, but it may be you're on a marathon training plan or a half marathon training plan, which means, are your results going to vary? They absolutely are going to vary. So, hey, I'd ask you this is a very detailed question. So I don't mind doing a follow-up on this. Don't mind other thoughts on this, because it goes a whole lot deeper. To me, periodization and how you schedule your race calendar, I think, are the two things that impact your fitness more than others, because I don't think people look at their training enough at a 30,000 foot view. I think they look at it and say, hey, this is how I train. I'm going to do the same things. I can't tell you the last time I did a tempo run.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing some, but I don't do it every single week. If you go look at any good training plan, you're not doing the same thing week in and week out. It just mixes it up. Just like you would go to the gym, you're going to change. You need to be changing week in and week out as you're training for a race.
Yeah.
Big picture thinking. And that's where I would say, don't just sign up for races. Take a piece of paper, calendar your year out. Get a coach or get someone to help you calendar a year out, and find ways to peak throughout the year. I love to peak at a certain time. And I'm going to tell you what, you'll feel the difference when you are peaking for a half marathon, peaking for a marathon, peaking for a 5K or 10K. You feel infinitely different. I knew going into the Peachtree, I was not peaking. I was just trying to survive. I felt differently than I've ever felt. But I'm telling you, when you are peaking for a race, that's why if you ever met some of these Olympic athletes, when they're ready to go for Rio, they are out of their mind. Why? Because they feel like they can conquer the world, because they have peaked for that one race. They've got everything stored up, and they're like a racehorse trying to bust. And I'm telling you, if you treat your goal races a little bit differently than the rest of them, by the time you reach that, it is hard to hold yourself back on race day. Why? Because you're absolutely peaking, and there's nothing better than peaking for a race.
That's good. So let's see, any other questions? I think we've hit them all. That was also, if the audio is a little bit goofy in there, sorry about that. I was trying something new with my phone. It was very shaky because I was having to hold it. So next time, I like having paper. I'll have something shooting down for you guys.
That was a quote of the day. Brandon said, I like having paper.
Hey, I draw stuff on paper.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. So I just like note taking.
No, because I lose it is the biggest thing. It's not that I don't like it.
Okay, I got you.
I'll lose this so fast. But anyway, if you guys were just wondering what in the world just happened, if you're listening to this, check us out. Just go to connectrunclub.com and look at the video. We'll have this up on YouTube so you guys can see what kind of Trey was walking through. But yeah, that's a huge help. So I'm trying to think any other things. So this is going out on a Wednesday, and then we'll have on a Monday, and then we're going to have some power meter stuff with Jim Vance coming out on Thursday.
And this gives us an idea, maybe late this year as we look at going into next year, maybe we can even dig into this a little bit more, do some type of a workshop about how to plan your year, because I think there's a lot of good stuff here that people use plan of the year for next year.
Totally. Plan of the year will be a great one. Mm-hmm. So, and make sure you guys, if you're not taking a part, go to connectrunclub.com/summer challenge. We love to see you guys in the challenge, hanging out with us on Facebook and on Strava. So until next Thursday at 3 p.m.
That's right.
Even though we did this early, run connected.
See you folks.
See you guys.